Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, we have the dynamic duo from Experian Automotive. We have Kirsten Von Busch. She's the Director of Product Marketing at Experian Automotive, and Jim McGuire, Senior Director of Marketing at Experian Auto. Team, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here.
It certainly is. Hi, Brian.
Well, it was so good to see you guys in the beautiful Napa Valley talking about the latest industry trends. Dealers know Experian as a trusted brand for consumer data and insights. And today we're going to dig into some of the hot topics that dealers need to know about that can help them redirect marketing dollars to more effective outcomes. And today, more than ever, dealers need to be working with an efficient operating budget. So, Kirsten, let's start with this one topic which got a lot of attention at the conference. You were sharing some insights on the Gen X generational group. Why does Experian Automotive find this group so interesting? Like, why should dealers care?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so many times, Gen X is kind of forgotten about, right? I mean, they are stuck between boomers and millennials, not quite as hip and cool as Gen Z, where it's just the steady generation. But Gen X is so important to the automotive industry because they are buying and registering the most number of vehicles. They have surpassed boomers as the largest generational cohort for vehicle registrations. So when we look at that information year over year, quarter over quarter, and we're tracking those new vehicle registration trends, Gen X from 2020 to 2021 alone had a 20% increase in vehicle registrations. And you're like, okay, 20%, but I mean, that represents over 3 million vehicles, almost 3 million vehicles. It's a huge group that we have to be paying attention to.
And Jim, when you think about talking with dealers about their marketing strategy, do you find that they understand the power of generational targeting?
So dealers know their customers, and their ability to get that next insight is based on how good a job they do keeping track of their data. Sometimes you have a full cohort of information in your CRM system, but sometimes you need to take that data and you need to compare it to third-party data so that you can get that insight. So this idea of which generation is shopping today, anecdotally from seeing people on your showroom floor, but until you see the data, you don't really understand the trends.
And that's a good point, Jim. Let me dive in with a follow-up question on that. Let's just say a dealer has been in business 20 years and they have a lot of data in their DMS and more recent transactions in their CRM. Is there a process by which Experian could partner with that dealer to kind of update their first party data and to kind of give them almost an analysis of where their customer base is and how to break them up into different marketing segments? Do you work that tactically with dealers who are looking for the data hygiene plus data strategy analysis?
So certainly dealers have the opportunity. We work with dealers every day, and dealers, when they think of data, they most often think of, is my data correct? Is it current? So that data hygiene is important. But the insights we're talking about, do you understand who's shopping at your store? Do you understand who's shopping at your competitors? That information is available by doing analysis of the marketplace. So we work with dealers to provide that market analysis So they understand not only who it is that's shopping today, but who's likely to be shopping in the near future, and then give information, generational based information, segmentation based information on those folks.
Got it. So in addition to a hygiene thing, which would be, maybe a periodic, dealers could be looking to say, hey, I'm a new Subaru point and I want to attract new Subaru customers. Who's in my market shopping for Subarus? What are those different generational groups? And then to tailor a marketing campaign maybe to those different audiences. Kirsten, is that a feasible thing where a new Subaru point could work with you to analyze their market, and then you could actually create different audiences with matching messages?
Absolutely. You're spot on with that.
And so let's talk about that tactically. Dealers have gotten mixed messages on the timeliness of data. In the past, when people received a market report, sometimes people would say, well, by the time we got that Polk report, it was 90 days old. So let's kind of tackle the question that no one's asking here because we don't have a dealer on the panel. In that example, how close to real time are your signals on people who are buying Subarus, shopping Subarus? Because I think that's really important to communicate the value proposition, the quality of data that may be part of your campaign development strategy.
So Brian, the timeliness of the data is an important factor, especially when you're looking at a lead coming in the door today. So if you're interested in analyzing the traffic that's coming through your door, that is a thing that you could do because the information about that person doesn't change from day to day. We know their demographics, we know their history. So that information could be very timely for that analysis. The idea of who's in market and when, there's two different approaches. One is waiting for a lead to come in the door. Someone is certainly in market. There's another approach, which is looking into the future, right? So instead of waiting for those leads to show up, if you have an insight of who's likely to be in the market in the near future, you can get ahead of the curve rather than waiting for that person to have already made a decision. They're going to go to the 1.5 dealers that they're visiting these days. No more seems to be the average. And if you wait for that to happen, they're already so far down the purchase funnel. There's not really an opportunity to change their direction. If you get to them in advance and talk about why your dealership is a preferred place to do business, why the cars that you're selling are the ones that they should be interested in. If you get to them in advance, you have the opportunity to steer them and help guide their decisions so that they're more likely to come purchase from you at the end of the day.
So Jim, let's dive into that. All right, we have a dealer who is looking to do exactly what you said. I want to get in front of the next buyer, and maybe you're using lease expiration data, buying signals from other data partners. And so within a certain PMA, you're going to say, hey, Mr. Dealer, there are 6,000 people kind of likely in market for a Subaru. Once that list is identified, all right, we're not giving the dealer that list, that's your proprietary data. Are you providing a hashed list that a dealer could use for Facebook? Or what if the dealer wanted to do an email campaign or something more like a personalized direct mail piece? What's available with your partnerships within Experian that could take that audience and activate it with a, like you said, a why buy message from the dealer?
So it's about audiences, and we can create those audiences that are specifically targeted such that they're people that are likely to buy, and they're likely to buy the vehicles that dealer has to sell. You need to be able to activate those audiences across different channels. So whether it's a Facebook target audience, whether it's an email campaign, or whether it's an over-the-top TV campaign, connected television. Those audiences can be used all those different ways.
Great. So a dealer could request those audience to be pushed through their local agency, or you could execute those campaigns for them.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So Kirsten, I thought that's a pretty cool thing. You have a trusted brand. You surely know how to deal with the PII issues and keeping everyone's information in line with the latest legislation. I love the fact that a dealer can go to you with a turnkey marketing solution and know that it's brand safe. Of the different marketing strategies that are available, like Jim mentioned, whether it's a Google campaign or a Facebook campaign or a streaming campaign or an email campaign, Kirsten, in your experience, what campaigns are dealers coming to Experian the most with? What's their, hey, I want you to run this type of campaign? Does any one kind of lead the pack in dealer spend from your perspective?
Well, what we would recommend, Brian, is analyzing those customers first. So and determining where they want to be communicated with, and then executing the audience campaign in that manner. Because with our lifestyle segmentation, we can determine what are their preferred methods of communication. How do they want to be communicated with? What are different messaging that would resonate with them? As far as perhaps it's brand loyalty for a group. Maybe for another group, it is about the quality of what they're looking to purchase. So we first would want to understand, well, who are we reaching out to? So whether is it prospects, is it a customer loyalty opportunity, and then how do they want to be communicated with? So let's get the most for our marketing dollars by reaching them how they want to be reached.
So within an audience, you may say, hey, these individuals may be best activated on a Facebook campaign, where this subset might be better activated from OTT. So you can get very granular as long as the audience is big enough.
Correct. Yes.
So Jim, I love the fact that Experian Automotive is leveraging its vast data storage facility to provide tactical, smarter marketing. But then I'm hearing some hubbub from other agencies that dealers are saying, hey, I'm selling every new car that's allocated to me even before it hits the lot. I don't really need to do much marketing right now. Jim, I'm aware that I'm a marketing guy, and Experian products are really powering smarter marketing. So we already have, let's just say, a prejudice. But let's step away from our viewpoints. What do you say with dealers? I don't need to market right now in this current inventory constrained environment.
So I would, for dealers that are wondering, should they be spending money on marketing? The answer is yes. The difference maybe is how they're spending their money and what their goals are. So every dealer talking about inventory constraints also is selling used cars. So inventory acquisition is an important thing. More and more you're seeing dealers doing campaigns for inventory acquisition. And if you want to do that in a very targeted way to find those people who are likely to have the vehicles that you want to purchase, then you need data to drive that. And that's a key campaign that many people are doing today. The next one, of course, is that other profit center, the dealership service. So differentiating yourself in the service environment, which is becoming increasingly competitive, considering all the aftermarket options that are out there. Service campaigns are an important thing. And both of those combine towards that bigger goal, which is building your brand, building lifetime loyalty, and that long-term relationship that's going to pay off for years down the road.
Well, Jim, I couldn't agree with you more. I am actively involved with many of our clients, activating a digital buying center strategy. In DMSC this year, we had David Long was a dealership manager in the Sonoma area, was talking about the power of intentional actions to develop buying centers. And of course, that resonated with me because it seems to be more and more the challenge. And we've been finding OTT or streaming video going to market with a buying center strategy with a dedicated URL that makes it easy for someone to get a trade work. So, for example, if I'm looking to get more trucks, Jim, can I come to Experian and say, I want people who have trucks that are 3 to 5 years old in my market, that may be a good candidate or in a position to sell. What type of targeting would you recommend for somebody who says, man, I want to buy more cars direct from consumers? Like, what are some of the triggers you would use to develop that audience?
Well, so there's an interesting nuance. We've talked about the idea of talking to consumers based on you mentioned generational approaches. When you segment any given group of people, you start to find differences, right? So we can do a profile of a particular marketplace and identify not just where consumers are, demographics about them, but also information about what they're likely to have in the garage, the average vehicle age, and how long ago, last time they were in the market. So if you use that information, you can target and with a specific message, because if we look at a segmentation that we look in the marketplace, say sport utility families, those folks have particular messaging that would resonate with them about acquiring their vehicle, versus another segment in the market, in your marketplace, different group of people, same ages. Where they might have a vehicle that's been leased and is 2 to 3 years. So, we do have audiences that include that off-lease approach in equity, the likelihood of them to be in the market for a specific vehicle. So those triggers that go along with that, but also the right way to talk to them, because the message of of reaching out to them about how to acquire that vehicle needs to resonate. And the more customized you can make that message to that segment of people, to those customers, the more likely they are to act.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Kirsten, I think that if I look back at a lot of the marketing materials that I've written, and I'm just being transparent, and some of the marketing workshops that I've attended, I see people kind of bunching lists together, like, it's your first party data, take all your customers and match them up to Facebook and push this out. Or, hey, these are all the people who bought from you, load them up onto Facebook and run a campaign. But what I'm hearing is, hey, to the dealers listening, yeah, you may have 20, 30, 50,000 customers. Yeah, but within there are different generational groups that would respond to different messages. They don't necessarily have that ability. The partnership with Experian would allow them to do any of their loyalty marketing, service marketing, acquisition, or trade up campaigns better, because instead of having one message, one approach, one visual, they could actually have multiple and have each segment better targeted.
Absolutely. And everyone wants to receive a message that's meaningful to them, when they want to be communicated with, how they want to be communicated with, and in a manner that's going to resonate with them. So we can absolutely assist with that, identifying those different customer segments and then executing on the audience and the message to them. Whether it is we doing it on, or excuse me, Experian doing it on behalf of the dealership, right? That, as you said, kind of full turnkey option, or if they have an agency they are working with, we can provide that to them. Or for the very large organizations, if they are, you mentioned TV, we are on syndicated platforms as well with our audiences. So really, we serve the full spectrum of the auto industry from a segmentation and an audience perspective.
Well, one of the things that I wanted our dealers listening to be aware of, and I'm sure many are, is that Experian Automotive puts out quarterly reports. These trend reports have been the industry gold standard for understanding future states. But there is a new trend report that's coming out, which dealers can request. And this is the Consumer Trends Report. Can we talk a little bit about that, Kirsten? Because I know this is a project very near to your heart.
It is very near to my heart. I am so excited to be launching this to the industry. So, Brian, as you said, we have been offering quarterly trends reports for years, covering the automotive finance trends and the automotive market trends. And this month, June 2022, we are going live with a third offering, Automotive Consumer Trends. And every quarter, we're going to focus on a specific vehicle segment and provide insights about the consumers who purchase those vehicles. So we'll further analyze consumer demographics, psychographic insights for the consumers in that vehicle segment. So first up, we are covering the crossover utility vehicles. So CUVs are up first, and next quarter we'll be covering electric vehicles. So tune in, it's going to be really exciting.
Well, I want to encourage dealers that more than ever, you need to be a student of the business and current trends. There's been more disruption with the supply chain that has changed even consumer behavior and even supply demand, cost of gas. Can't wait to see the EV report that's coming up the following quarter, because these insights can help you understand in advance how to prepare for the future. I think the recent announcements from GM and Ford about their approach to EV marketing is putting the whole dealer community on alert. And what I think it's going to force the automotive dealer community to do is to be better marketers, to be more efficient with their labor force, be more intentional in their outreach. Jim, one of the things that I've been preaching, and I'd like to get your take on it, is this idea that if the OEMs choose to do more consumer direct marketing where cars are ordered on a national website, it's going to be more important than ever for dealers to develop brand loyalty in advance of that, so that when their dealership is in a drop-down box of where would you like this car delivered to, that dealer is top of mind with consumers. How can Experian partner with dealers today who see that reality and want to have a more intentional and effective retention strategy?
So dealers know consumers, and that relationship that they build up over time makes all the difference, regardless of the national marketing strategy. So the better they understand and can cater to the specific segments of their customers, the better position they'll be. So that idea of brand loyalty, as an example, is one that can be measured many different ways. But for a dealer, it's about who's not only coming back to my dealership again, who's telling their friends, and who is saying good things about me in the marketplace. The more you can communicate with them in a way that channels to their specific mindset, the better. So we have dealer marketing solutions, as an example, that we'll analyze the market, we'll analyze the opportunity, and we'll give you recommendations on how to talk to each segment of your specific market. And they can be very different. For instance, in one market, you can have two different, you're trying to sell two different CUVs, and you're trying to sell them in the exact same marketplace. But the opportunity based on brand affinity for the vehicle can give you very different segments of customers you're talking to. So we will tell them what the best zip code in their market is, what the motivating factors are that drive that particular person, and messaging points. Is this person interested in discounts and incentives, or are they more interested in celebrity endorsements and style and design? Those insights vary right within the same vehicle segment and class. I mean, so it is not, the difference between a luxury vehicle and on a day-to-day driver. It is a difference about how one brand resonates with another. A Honda CR-V versus a Ford Escape, very similar vehicles, very different audiences, and it varies by geography. So where those two groups might look different in, let's say, Colorado, the people you're speaking to and what resonates with them for those same two vehicles might look very different in Houston, Texas. So it's important to understand your geography and understand the people and the right way to speak to whom to resonate and build that brand over time.
And I think that is a great reminder for all the dealers listening. Do you really understand the makeup of your current customers and your market? I know, like, the Subaru brand is pretty well known from having a very, very loyal customer base and some unique demographic insights. But I think more and more, each brand is starting to solidify their own type of buyer. Kia, over the years, seems to have made some pretty massive inroads to consumers feeling really good about the quality of, say, a Hyundai or a Kia. And so sometimes we get stuck in the past. And I want to encourage all the dealers, why wouldn't you reach out to Experian Automotive to understand your market, get a current market analysis, take a look at the buying trends at your dealership. And I bet, especially if you've been running the dealership for a number of years, I bet some things have changed that you may not even be aware of. And then secondly, using that information to tailor customized messages for those different segments obviously makes sense to everyone. And especially if you have kids in their 20s that think and buy very differently than me, who's 60. If I'm designing ad campaigns, most likely those ad campaigns are going to appeal to someone in my age group, because that's my lens. And we need external partners like Experian Automotive to help us really reframe our marketing strategy. Kirsten, if you had one thing to tell dealers today about the power of partnering with Experian Automotive, what would it be?
Oh, Brian, it's tough to narrow it down to one thing, but I'll circle back to where we started. We started talking about Gen X, right? And you also just mentioned EV buyers. And where are these EV buyers coming from? And dealers making assumptions about, knowing their customers or knowing their markets. But as you said, things shift and things change. We don't want to make those assumptions. Let the data drive their decisions. Because, for example, Gen X actually is the largest generation registering new retail electric vehicles. We always talk about younger generations being interested in electric vehicles, but Gen X is leading that charge. So don't make assumptions. Allow the data to direct your marketing strategies and decisions.
And I think that is really a very concise reminder. At one time, gut reactions were able to navigate dealership success, but with the massive consolidation of dealerships, Dealer groups today are using data and tools like those provided by Experian to make smarter, more efficient decisions. So whether you're a single point dealership or 2 or 3 stores, you can have the same insights as the largest public companies if you choose to be directed by data and not by gut. Jim, I'm going to ask the same question. Dealers who are aware of Experian Automotive might just say, oh, you're the OEM data folks, or you're the people who help in my loan approval process. What's one thing you would want dealers to know or reconsider about what you can do through a partnership with their dealership?
So absolutely, everyone knows Experian as one of the big credit bureaus, and more people know Experian as a marketing solutions provider. So on the dealer side, that data-driven marketing is what we're known for. But what's unique about us is that essentially it takes 3 things to sell a vehicle. It takes cars, it takes customers, and it takes credit. Experian is the only primary data source for all 3 of those categories. So our ability to bring the data to the table, to analyze it, to link it, to drive insights that will drive dealer business are unparalleled.
Well, you heard it from Jim. If you want the very best data with a trusted brand that can give you new insights, data-driven insights to your local market, don't assume you understand, especially with some of the communities that have explosive growth. We've seen this in Florida. I was just in Oklahoma City. So many people are coming in from California, the massive growth in Nashville, in Texas. These are marketplaces that are evolving much faster than our own gut reactions would seem to indicate. And I'm glad that we had a chance to have the Experian Automotive team. Kirsten, if a dealer wanted to learn more about the dealer-specific solutions, obviously the agencies, most competent agencies already are in a partnership with you. Where would a dealer go to learn more about dealer direct services?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of information online and we'd welcome those conversations. So I would recommend someone get started on Experian.com automotive. It's a great place to start. They can see the breadth and depth of our solutions and then certainly contact us for further detail and conversation about their specific needs.
Well, that website is absolutely a must for dealers who want the highest quality in-market data about their marketplace and the shoppers that are there. I want to thank Jim and Kirsten for being part of this podcast. And I want to thank you for listening. This is one of many conversations I have with industry leaders, disruptors, and innovators who are helping dealers sell more cars in a digital age. Make sure you check out our previous podcast. You can go to brianpash.libsyn, LIBSYN.com, or look under Brian Pash Podcast on your Apple or Google Play store. And keep in mind that as we move forward to the fall months, we're all looking forward to the Modern Retailing Conference in beautiful Palm Beach, Florida, November 13th, 14th, and 15th. This is the Reimagine Conference. We used to do the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, but with the massive changes in automotive retailing, we have renamed and reimagined what dealers need to talk about. So this year, we're going to be talking about the human resource needs in modern retailing. We're going to be talking about the sales process. What is a modern sales process? We're going to be tackling EV sales, direct-to-consumer models. We're going to be talking about more personalized data marketing like we discussed today by data-driven strategies as part of a modern retailing structure. And of course, we hope to have some OEM leaders sharing their vision for the future of automotive retailing. So if you're interested in locking in tickets before the ticket prices increase, you can go to modernretailingconference.com. That's modernretailingconference.com. And we look forward to seeing all our industry friends and, well, innovations being displayed on stage in November. Kirsten, Jim, thanks for your time. Thanks everyone for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you next time on another podcast session.